Hi, Slumber Party listeners. It's your host, Tim Murray, wanting to remind you to make sure you're subscribed to this channel so you can stay up to date on all of these interviews. Also, make sure you subscribe to iHeart Radio Broadway Network. I do all sorts of bonus episodes there that aren't available on YouTube. And make sure you're subscribed to my Patreon because you can get extra interviews with these guests, extra interviews with Jessica Bosk, Ben Fankhauser, Andrew Keenan Bolger, and so many more people. Enjoy today's interview. Thanks for watching. Hello, my lovely little Slumber Party listeners. It's your host, Tim Murray, and this is the podcast where I interview comedians, Broadway stars, and drag queens about their sleepover experiences growing up. And today, ooh boy, do we have someone that I've been a fan of for a very long time. Someone so funny. You know her from, I don't know, you ever heard of The Funniest Show on Television? The other two? Or High Maintenance? Or Bullets Over Broadway? I could go on and on and on, but I won't because I need to bring in Helené Yorke.
Hello.
How are you doing? You're looking gorgeous. This hair, come on.
Thank you. Well, I waited at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time for you. And nope, it was 2 p.m. There's no such thing as Pacific Standard Time. Standard Time is only New York.
The New York way. I lived in New York for 7 years, and it is so funny how when you live there, you really are like, you just walk around like, fuck LA. Every other city in this country, in this world, is nothing compared to us. You ain't got nothing on us, mama. And then I moved to LA and I'm like, hiking is so great. New York, who's she?
Really? I grew up in LA and I get depressed there because it's nice every day. Like the other night I went to dinner with my fiance and it was pouring rain, 90 degrees, so hot. We were sweating through our clothes. And I was like, this is the most romantic thing ever. Like there's nothing. I love an extreme weather moment. Ooh. Being from LA, it's just like the same every day, unless it's on fire.
Then we got a little bit of a change. Then we say, ooh,
doing a lot. Yeah.
Ooh, it's smoky. We got a little
maybe I shouldn't go outside. I'm going to have an asthma attack.
That is sort of the thing, right? It's like air is kind of a huge part of being alive. Being able to breathe is kind of a huge part of being alive. So it is a little alarming, I would say.
That's the one thing that breaks up the monotony of LA is when it's in flames.
Speaking of LA and New York, let's talk about the show that was filmed in both LA and New York this very year and is coming out when this episode comes out. The other two will debut tomorrow.
Ooh, tomorrow.
Ooh. So get into it, everybody. I know there's like a lot we can't say about season 2 because people haven't seen yet. But my question for you is, what is it like to be on The Funniest Show on TV?
It's a damn delight. Drew and I have now seen up through episode 9, and your very own listeners, Tim Murray, does make an appearance this season. My God, so good, so good.
Doing the most, we can't say what it is because I think it is a bit of a spoiler, but doing literally the most fun thing I've ever about a topic that I'm like, could this be any gayer or any more perfect?
Yes, it's very gay, very perfect. No, it's amazing. So Drew and I have seen through episode 9 and our text chain right now is just like, can you believe we're on this? I'm so glad we're on this. The show's so good. I love this. And every time we get sent episodes, you know, whether it's like before we do table reads to read them, or, you know, when Chris and Sarah are sending us the episodes, like the rough edits of things, we like basically live text our experience back at them because we love it so much. And the thing that's really lame is the other day, the trailer came out and I watched it and I was like, I'm so excited for season 2. And I'm like, oh, and I'm on it. Like I get kind of lost in loving the show. It's hard to, when you're in something that you truly believe in, it's a really nice sweet spot.
Yeah. It's like, it's so rare. I mean, I just have one scene in one episode, but I literally ever since we filmed it, I've just been walking around being like, I'm on my favorite show. Like it doesn't get I really and truly like I watched season 1. I've seen it at least 2 times through now. It's just so funny and so great. As like a gay comedian, the number of times I've sat around being like, fuck, I love Broad City. I wish there was like something super gay like this. And then when the other two came around, it was like, oh my God, he's he's jerking it with his roommate. This is me.
Yes, exactly.
I'm finally seeing myself on screen. He's taking a picture of his butthole. This is me.
I think that's what's so resonating about it is that, and like this season as well, I'm sorry I'm lisping, by the way. I'm doing Invisalign and I refuse to take them out even for you because I want to get it over with so bad.
So
So you
smart.
are listening to me go through my Invisalign. This is real time, baby, getting these 3 tapes. Um, yeah, I think that Chris and Sarah, not I think, they just did do such a good job of gay storylines that are things you just don't see on TV. And talking about things that, you know, it's not your basic gay storyline of, you know, coming up against a family that's mad at you and
100%.
all of that.
Yeah.
It's like, it's, you know, we talk about Grindr, we have different pockets of gay representation. I don't want to like give any spoilers. I just feel like they did such a good job of like, yeah, I mean,
in season 1, when I was watching with my boyfriend for the first time, when they brag, when they were talking about the conversation with the school principal about like, should I eat dinner tonight or should you? Like that, I was like, this is revolutionary television. Like we both looked at each other like, no one's ever had a conversation about bottoming on TV before in this way. Give them a Pulitzer. Like, yeah.
And it's also funny because I think life, even the things about it that are difficult, are ultimately funny if you zoom out. And that's what makes the show so great, is that like, that's what comedy is to like talk about your dad dying from having his dick frozen to a roof, like became something funny. It's like, I kind of quip about the fact that like, oftentimes the situations you see them in are traumas that they go through that you'll laugh about this later.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because think about like I mean, not all traumas like this, of course, but like, you know, fights you get into, fights you have with your boy, anything that's like sucks about anything, or like a job you didn't get, it just makes for like a good laugh later.
Yes.
And I think remembering shitty times in that context is like kind of honestly relaxing, knowing that like, you know, hindsight, you'll be like, oh my God.
100%. Like that, like I think about the scene in season 1 when my girl Kate Berlin brings him in for the meeting, and she's like, I am gagging for you, faggot. Like, just such an iconic line. And there's a version of that happening to people where it's like, yeah, and that made me want to quit show business because it was like so traumatic. But to take the spin on it of like, yeah, having hindsight away from this, isn't this fucking funny that people really do talk like this?
Sometimes shit happens to me and I'm like, I cannot wait to tell somebody this happened to me.
Yes. Yeah. I can. Yeah. That's what's so brilliant about their writing, is it's like, you're right, turning these bizarre or traumatic situations into very funny story twists.
Yeah, we love it. It's the best. I'm so glad you love it.
I love it so much. And I said that to them on set. I was like, I'm just going to be this person because I need to. I was like, hey, when we were done, I was like, thank you so much for having me. And I just want to say, this is very cool for me. This is literally my favorite show. And Chris was like, oh, I'm glad you still remember it because it's been years since the first season was on.
I mean, that was the thing, actually, if I'm honest. Like, if there's something that Chris, Sarah, Drew, and I love, maybe I'll exclude Drew from this because he's like above it all. He's from Georgia. I don't know how he operates in this way. But if there's something we love, it's compliments. And what was so fun about shooting season 2 is that everybody came in hot with how much they love the show, which was so nice.
It's so great.
I also like live text the episodes because Chris and Sarah will send them to us and they're like, radio silence. I'm not getting any texts about what's hilarious to you.
Oh my God. And okay, real quick, Molly Shannon. I mean, is it everything?
Yes. I can't, she is that person. Like she is that relentlessly positive. It's like one of these things where like, not to get too deep, I guess, but you know, I was like, I would like to have kids, and Molly has 2 kids, and she'll sit on set and like talk to me about what it was to be a mother in the business and how she prioritized herself. But she's got such a irreverent way of being. It's just so easy for her to know. I say this like it's easy for her to know what's important in life. Does that make sense? Like, I
Yes.
think we all struggle with knowing how to how to parse out what's important. Like, we think the wrong shit's important all the time, and she just very naturally knows what is. Like, she's just the most genuine person. Like, her Instagram, when she puts an outfit together for a premiere, is like, do I wear this or do I wear this? And she's not working with like a stylist, or maybe she is and just kind of puts it on her gram, but she's not like, when I think about an outfit for a premiere, I like pose in it 1,000 different ways. Like, I overthink everything, but Molly's just goes into her life with wild abandon, and she's just the most generous spirit. I leave every day at work with her because I spent a lot of time with her this season, because Brooke plays her manager this year. And I just leave every day like, wow, I'm going to go through life in this way. And then, you put a bunch of shit in your plate and you forget, but it's,
Yeah.
I keep fucking up and overthinking, but she's the best. She's
Especially
amazing.
post-pandemic, that sounds like fucking lovely as hell. This time when we're like,
Yeah.
does our job exist? Like, do we, what is important to me? Like, what's happening here? To be around
Yeah.
that kind of energy is like, great.
I don't know about you though, but like I found this like weird relaxation in the not knowing. Like, I'm planning a wedding during a fucking pandemic. Like, nothing is more bizarre. It was like looking so good in July, and now I'm like, what the holy hell? We asked for vaccinations because just not fucking around with this.
Yeah.
But I just sort of feel like at this point with life in general, and like, does our job exist? Do people care about art? Do people care about comedy? I'm kind of like, well, I think they do, and I think they always will. Because at the end, like, I don't need to watch, Mayor of Easttown every night. Like, I started the NXIVM series. I'm like, I'll get through this and then I want to move on.
Yeah. I want to move on with my life from
I
this.
want to move on. And I just think that like when it comes to, how crazy the last year and a half has been, I'm kind of at this point where I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I sort of I'm like, okay, if you tell me I have to stay at home again, like, I'll deal. And okay, because what am I going to do? I'm
Yeah.
not going to invent the next vaccine for the next thing. I'm not Greta Thunberg. Like, I'm doing my best.
Yeah.
It just is what it is. And the page out of Molly's book that I keep going back to is like, what about your life is great. Focus on that instead.
Exactly.
And like,
Exactly.
not that we're going to laugh about COVID, but I think that there is a time, if you talk about hindsight, that will, and fast forward in the future, and like have nostalgia about weird things. Like, I was talking to somebody yesterday about our nostalgia for our COVID walks, like when you would like force yourself to go for a walk.
Oh yeah.
And I was like, oh man, I really miss this walk.
I have the same thing. I had like a friend who lived down the street from me who I wasn't that close with before COVID. And we had like forced friendship time to go on these like little old Long Island lady walks where we would just kind of like power walk together and chat about nothing. And we weren't, there was nothing to strive for. There was no goals. There's no like seeing your, for a solid 6 months, there was no like seeing your friends book things that you were like, oh man, I want to book that. Or like, there's no comparison. We were just kind of like,
That's so
living our
relaxing.
lives. It
Yeah, it
really
was like
was.
everybody was a failure at the same time.
Yes, truly, truly.
I loved when everybody was failing. That was when I was my most relaxed.
I felt the best about myself when nobody had success. It was so great. But there's something to that of like, I think just we're just not meant to be seeing so much of this stuff on our phones, of like seeing what everyone is doing all the time. And this was like, oh, everyone's doing the same thing. It was great. It was beautiful.
I was off of Instagram for like for a year. I was off of it. And because I didn't want to, I got to the point where I was like, I don't want to see anything. I don't want to see that you're good at bread. I don't want to see some people were like thriving in quarantine, and I didn't want to see it. Cause like all I was doing was being like, is it cocktail hour yet? Like, when can I drink?
Yeah. Yeah.
That was like as productive as I got. And I didn't want to compare myself in that way. And so when I got back on Instagram, because I was like, I want to have fun promoting the show. I want to do my braggy thing. Like, I want to be out on these streets. And this is going to sound savage. I muted like everybody.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
My whole feed now, I mean, I didn't mute everybody, but like my whole feed is like furniture, some friends, and like drag queens.
Yes, exactly. Exactly.
Like, I want to look at some good contouring and a lovely interior and maybe like a vista of Italy. And like, that's the extent of it. And I'll sit on Instagram for hours looking at this. I mean, and now I love it.
Yeah. Now you've actually catered it to what you really want to see.
And because the thing that sucks is that like I want people to be successful. Do you know what I mean? I genuinely mean that. And especially the people I follow on Instagram. Like I want them to be successful. I want them to have happiness. I want them to thrive. But it's not them, it's me. I'm the problem. You know
I'm
what I
the
mean?
problem. I know exactly what you mean. And I would give both of us a little bit benefit of the doubt of what I think about it is we do want everyone to succeed. I am happy for my friends when they sell a TV show, they sell a movie, they book something, but I don't want it to come at me information wise when I'm not expecting it and not ready. I don't want it to get a parking ticket and then open my phone and see that. You know what I
Yes,
mean? It's
that's
like,
such a good way of putting it.
it's not that we're not happy for them, it's
Yeah.
that we are not prepared to hear that information in that moment. We're not at lunch with them, we're not asking them how they're doing, we're just getting
Yeah,
information.
I don't want to have a frustrating conversation with my parents and open Instagram and find out that everybody's killing it. Like,
Right, right.
yeah. But
I think
like,
that's the key.
I think, yeah, yeah. I mean, and to be able to enjoy it. I was thinking about this the other day. I was like, wow, I genuinely like it now. And when I get targeted ads, I'm like, thank you. I do want that.
I need that Snuggie. I'm so
I,
thrilled that this
I
came
need
my
it.
way. I need it.
I will say, and then the other thing I like to hate scroll is wedding Instagram. Instagram
Ooh.
finds out that you're getting married and it feeds you there's this one account that I don't follow, but that I'll deep dive every once in a while because I get served it all the time. It's called Utah Valley Bride. And every girl has the exact hair you think she has. You know,
I know.
you know. And so much makeup on. And they clearly like these people put their wedding outfits on and like climb Everest to get pictures. I mean, it's psycho, not Everest, but they like go to,
Huge
they're like
mountains
at
in the
Half
background.
Dome in Yellowstone in a wedding dress. Like, look at this. And you're like, okay, you probably got married in like a barn in Wyoming. Like, that's where everybody gets married. But I
Right.
get fed all this shit. Like, I have shade for a certain kind of calligraphy now. And like, I love to hate it. And I'm like, I won't have this. My calligraphy will look like Thomas Jefferson did my escort cards. Like, they get you.
It's gonna be real. It's gonna look real as hell, or it's not on the glasses.
Yeah. But like, it's so funny that Instagram is like, we know what you're doing, bitch.
That is
Here's
so.
a tablescape and a wedding dress and so many different knickknacks that you can do.
We've got your number, baby. Click buy right now. Yeah, that is
Yeah.
really bizarre. It's also bizarre, even like having a conversation about, I don't know, sweaters or something, not typing it in. And then all of a sudden, there are those sweaters. But I'm with you. It's like, yeah, I was talking about that. And yeah, I do want easy access to buy that sweater.
I heard somewhere recently that they're like, the phones don't listen to you. And I was like,
There's
they do.
no way. They do.
Because
They
you're right.
must.
I won't search something at all. I will not type it in at all. And I'll get served.
Yeah.
I'll get served.
Sir, you
You've
got
been served.
served.
Wasn't that a movie? You Got Served?
Oh, yes, it was. I think this should be
Good
You Got
slumber
Served
party
too.
movie. Yeah.
A good
You Got Served too.
You Got Served is such a good slumber party movie. Okay,
Yeah.
let's talk slumber party movies. I have one. I'm gonna tell you mine first that I would want to watch with you because I am so impressed by your dancing in the other two.
Thank you.
It's so fun to watch a show. You know how you watch a movie or TV show when they're like, she's a dancer, that girl's a dancer, they're in ballet or something, and then it's very clear that it's like an Instagram model
like
turned actress
Julia
who's
Stiles.
never.
Yeah, it's like
It's
Julia
Julia
Stiles trying to
Stiles.
do a develope.
Helena, in my stand-up show, I used to have a bit where I would say, I'm going to do monologues and performances from movies that should have been nominated for an Oscar that weren't, and they were all Julia Stiles movies. And then I would play that clip at the end, and it was every time the audience would just like lose their shit because it's However funny you remember that dancing being, it is so just.
When she auditions for Juilliard.
And they say, off the record,
Yeah.
welcome to Juilliard.
Yeah. Oh my God, that's so funny.
Oh my God. So my summer party movie with you would be Step Up, because I want to watch a real dancing movie with you.
Well, that's a real dancing movie. I mean, that's Channing Tatum in his element.
I mean,
God
truly.
damn, I want to rewatch that.
It's
I
good.
can do that later.
It's really good.
I think my fiance is going to be home from work later and I'm going to low key watch Step Up.
Oh my God. It's a well done film, and the dancing is incredible.
The dancing is amazing. What was her Jenna DeWitt?
Jenna DeWitt.
She was so sexy.
So hot.
I wonder what happened there. Like,
I know.
That to me was a match made in heaven.
It really was. And this is another gross brag, but I'm just going to tell you, I did a commercial with him when they were like in the height of their romance. They had like just gotten married, I think. And it was me and Vinny from the Jersey Shore.
Sure.
And of course, and Vinny turned to Channing Tatum and said something like, it was he was such a douche, but then like this was like such a sweet moment where he was like, what's it like to like have met the love of your life?
Oh my God, what a cute question.
I know. And Channing Tatum was like, it feels like this is what it's all about. This is what life is all about, I found my person. And I was like, okay, this is the sweetest thing I've ever heard in my life, and I hope that this lasts. And then of course it didn't.
Were you devastated when it was not his person?
I wasn't, because he's famously bi, and I really want him to be my person.
Wait, is he bi?
He's bi. He came out as bi like way before it was like hot in the trades to be queer. He came out as bi and like during Step Up.
I love that for all men. I love that for all men. That is so great.
It's good.
I'm glad. I did brag. This is not a brag. I did a reading of the Magic Mike the musical.
Stop it.
And he came to see the reading, and he was so nice, and he smelled so good. Mm-hmm. I just remember him smelling good, and I was like, "Arr, arr, arr." And then that was it. Yeah, that's
like as tall as you want him to be. He's like a hunk of a man. I was like,
I mean, my fiance is 6'5", and I have to say I'm very partial to that now. Channing Tatum is not 6'5".
No, that's true. He's maybe
once you have 6'5", I can say with full confidence that my fiance is the one, because I can never go back from 6'5". Like I couldn't, like we can't break up. Because it's hard. There's not many of them. It's a unicorn situation. Somebody shorter than that. Nothing against people under 6'5". I'm just saying for me.
That makes full sense to me. I mean, 6'5" is just hearing the word 6'5", I'm salivating. That's extremely hot.
I take pictures of him and he's like, please don't send that to anybody, because he knows I'm going to send it to my friend Scott Bixby. My friend, do you know who Andrew Keenan Bolger is?
Andrew was on this podcast. Oh, yes.
Okay, great. Mm-hmm. He was my college roommate. We lived together for 2 years in college, and he married Scott Bixby. And I love Scott, and Scott is so intelligent, and they're just like such a hot little ripped couple. But I send Scott shirtless pictures of my fiance all the time. And Barry's like, and when he says don't send it to anybody, he knows I'm going to. There's one exception. There is somebody who will get the picture.
and it is Scott Bixby in DC writing an important article and looking at your fiance.
Yeah, he's like in the White House looking at my fiance's like love of a chest hair. We should mention for the pod that Scott is the White House correspondent for the Daily Beast.
Look him up, people. Also look him up on Instagram, because he is one of the hottest people who's ever lived.
Yeah, he's gorgeous.
It's so gorge. Tangent. Speaking of Andrew, I was gonna save this for the end of the pod, but I need to tell you right now since you brought up Andrew. I have a story for you. I'm 100% certain you do not remember this, but I was friends in college with Brendan Maroney, who was Andrew's boyfriend at the time. And my friend Brian and I went to New York City to see shows, and we knew you from YouTube. and we're like huge fans of, because for those of you who don't know, the University of Michigan invented YouTube.
It was the same with like Matt Rogers and Bowen Yang. They also knew me from YouTube.
I listened
And
to
now
that
they're like the
episode.
most famous people I know.
I know. Like, yeah, how does it feel to like have somebody on SNL be like, I've watched your spring cleaning video over and over again?
Exactly.
I love those homos, and I love that episode. It was just so fun.
Oh, they're so brilliant.
They're the
I
best.
can't.
They're
Watching.
the
It's
best.
like, again, watching people succeed. You're like, hell to the yeah.
Yeah, when Bowen got nominated for an Emmy, I was like,
Oh.
I feel so much joy when you watch somebody perform in a basement for years, like being so funny for 20 people to then like finally get their shine is like,
It's also like when good things happen to the right people is what
exactly.
that felt like.
Yeah.
Like I felt like a lot of the Emmy nominations this year were that.
Yeah.
Like the right thing was happening to the right people. Like
Yes.
it felt correct.
Yeah. And
Sorry,
Bowen and Matt, I mean,
you-
their glow up is just awesome because they're good boys. They're good guys. Like they gave me my first opportunity to do stand up. Like they were
they're
doing
the
a live
nicest
show.
people in the world. It's
They're
like
so great.
insane. I'm so happy for them, for that whole crew, for them. It's so great.
Yeah. But so I went to New York City with my friend and we were like, what show should we see? And we were looking up shows and we saw there was an off-Broadway show starring this girl that we knew from YouTube, Helené Yorke. And I said, okay, well, let's go see Walmartopia.
You did not.
We went and saw Walmartopia, and I'm certain you don't remember this, but you came up to us after the show. We like sat around waiting for you because we knew AKB, so we're like, we'll just tell her that we're friends with her friend. And you came up to us and you go, do I know you? And we were like, no, you don't know us, you've never met us before. And she was like, because when I was up there, my friend turned to me during the show and said, do you have friends here? And you were like, no. And he was like, those homos are watching you.
That's going to be the name of my biography.
Those homos are watching you.
Those homos are watching you.
Because it was like a teeny tiny theater, and I'm sure like we were like, there was someone at center stage singing, and you were like dancing stage right, and we were just like, look at what she's doing.
If you ever do come see me on stage, I do recommend tracking various things when I'm not center stage, because I'll be doing something. Usually something that they'll be like, Helena, please stop doing that. But I'll do it anyway. That is so funny. I do remember that now, actually, now that you bring it up. And
so
my
funny.
fiance, who met me in 2019, often jokes, he's like, oh, do they know you from Walmartopia? Because Walmartopia was such a, it was at Minetta Lane Theater. We a couple times did it for like literally 5 people.
Oh my God.
There might have been 5 people there the time you were there. You would have been 2 of 5. So
funny.
It was crazy. And like oftentimes our stage manager, Beth Glorioso, who's like a stage manager extraordinaire, she would cancel shows because there were so little people there. Or if like the air conditioning was out at the Minetta Lane, she'd be like, absolutely not, we're not doing this. So she would just cancel shows, but we all got so close. Like I still know these people. And yeah, it was just this like totally random thing. The producers like kept us open because they wanted us to make money and have our insurance weeks.
Oh,
like,
that's so sweet.
Yeah, and I was like working downtown when I was 22, and everybody else like only knew how to do streets above 14th when they were like numbering them.
That's so
but
fun.
Yeah, Walmartopia. My fiance asks all the time his thing, and I get mad at him because I'm like, I feel that it's homophobic. I'm like, Barry, he goes, they loved it. They loved that I asked them. He's like, he'll ask gay friends of mine why gay men love me. And I'm like, honey, don't do that. You're just assuming that they do. And he's like, they always answer.
They always do. They always say yes.
And it's like, I'm almost exclusively approached by gay men. Like,
that is so funny. Those homos are watching me.
Those homos are watching me. Bye, honey.
That is so. I'm actually. first of all, just keep letting them ask that and then write down their answers for the book. Like
he asked Bowen Yang at a Pride event, like at an Entertainment Weekly Pride event. He was like, Bowen, why do gay men love Helené? And Bowen was like, great, and like prepared and like answered the question. And I was like, please don't ask my very cool, very fancy friends. Like, no.
I bet Bowen loved that. I bet he was like, I have a whole dissertation for you about why this is true.
It was so embarrassing. I was like, no.
We love icons. We love you can sing, you can dance, you can act, you're gorge. I mean, it's pretty obvious to me. But I guess if you're a straight guy, you're like, yeah, what is it about her? What is this?
I think about like who the straights like, and I'm like, oh no, thank you.
No. I couldn't possibly.
I'm like, I don't want to. I'm good with not being that person.
Yeah, no.
Like, who does straight?
When I see like a straight male Instagram, like my friends like, oh, look at this like video or this picture, and like I slide through their feed for a second. I'm like, what in the hell is this? What kind of internet do you have?
With no context, just a river and grass.
Oh.
It's so bad.
Oh,
Never pictures of them in a way that you want to see them. I don't even think I follow any straight men on Instagram, if I think about it.
I don't either.
I'm my fiance like left. He's gone off of Instagram.
Because you were taking too many shirtless pictures of him and he was embarrassed.
Yeah. I was tagging him and people were finding him.
All these gay guys are following me and sliding into my DMs, and it's making me a little uncomfortable.
No, I love it. I do post thirst traps of him on my Instagram because I know who my follow base is. Like, I know who the audience is. I know who's watching.
The homo.
Those gay boys are watching me.
Those gay boys are watching me.
So I'm going to give them something they like, and it's going to be a shirtless, 6'5", dirty, smelly man.
Hell yeah. A dirty, smelly man. Okay, we're obviously going to talk about slumber parties, but I have to ask you, and I know you got into this on Las Culturistas, but I interviewed Elphaba on this podcast for like 2 months straight. And I know. It was like, it started to become a thing during pandemic, and then it didn't
trauma.
Stop.
Did they talk about their trauma?
Yeah, I was very surprised by that. I thought it was going to be slumber party vibes.
It's psycho to sing that 8 times a week. Like, I'm glad that finally with Ben Platt, they were like, we shouldn't ask people to sing this kind of stuff 8 times a week.
Yeah, this is nuts.
Yeah, nuts.
Who was your Elphaba? You were a Glinda, I should say. Marcy Dodd, everything.
The fact that like Wicked opened in 2003 and it doesn't feel like it's Phantom of the Opera. You know what I mean? Like,
no, yeah.
Phantom of the Opera felt crusty for a long time, but like Wicked is not crusty.
No, Wicked is very much alive, and like even so much so that like a 33-year-old man could tell you if you played Marcy Dodd singing right now, I'd be like, that one's Marcy Dodd. And if you I'd be like,
that's real.
It's real. It really like it has had its own life in this, for better or for worse, like people loving the girls, like loving the Glindas and the Elphabas, and being like, oh, this one's my favorite, this one's not. But yeah, the common thread between the people I've interviewed is like, that's fine that y'all have that, but don't say it to us.
Yeah.
Like, so many Elphabas were like, I would leave the stage door and then be like, you're my 3rd favorite Elphaba. And they'd be like, okay.
Don't say that
to sucks people. For me. Yeah.
Exactly.
That sucks for me.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it was crazy. It was such a long time ago. I opened the 2nd national tour, and it is the tour, and like my name is still in costumes.
That's so cool.
It's unbelievable. I mean, yeah, it's like a mammoth thing to have been a part of.
Yeah, it really is. And so many amazing New York theater artists have like been through that same thread. It's so cool.
Yeah, like one of my very dear friends is Annalie Ashford, and she's a freaking superstar. She was a Glinda.
Yeah, so good.
Yeah.
What were your slumber parties like growing up?
So the thing about this that makes me laugh is that, and I don't know if other women have said this on your podcast, girl slumber parties always ended up in some insane fight. Like,
No one has ever talked about this. Speak on it.
okay, so if you got a bunch of girls that were like 10, around 10, let's say, like the range would be, I guess, like 8 to, let's say, just straight up 8 to 17. Like girls that didn't know, you're kind of still figuring out who you are.
Mm-hmm.
And you put us all in a room because sometimes these were like 10 to like 15 people, 8, 10, 15 people, like sleeping in your parents' living room. There would be some moment where like girls would siphon off. There would be like cattiness. I hope that Gen Z girls have been like, we're evolved and we don't have cattiness. We cheerlead all women. Women are power. We love each other. But like the cattiness would be psycho. So you would like start the night, everybody would be best friends. And then by the end of the night, like two girls would like siphon off and be like talking trash about the other girls. And they'd be like, we're going to prank call Joey. And they'd be like, I don't want to prank call Joey, guys. And then there was always like the one girl that went to sleep before everybody else. She had the like kitted out, like sleeping bag. She had an eye mask. She was like ready to go to bed and she
Mm-hmm.
would pass out and everybody else would be hanging out and she'd be asleep. Like that's who I wish I was. But like she was always the kind of nerdy one that was like ready for her sleep time. She's like, guys, I can't wake up looking like shit.
Yeah.
And but then there was the other ones that would like stay up way too late. Yeah, I mean, it was like it would always there would always be like a divide at a certain point, and like the two girls that would like throw shade to everybody else and like rule the roost and be mean, and
Yeah.
somebody would cry. Somebody always cried at a slumber party.
Oh my God. It's so bizarre. You're right. I hope Gen Z has changed this, but like
It
our
feels
slumber
like we
parties,
have.
I think they have. Our slumber
I'm
parties
not
were so
obsessed with
gendered
Gen
though.
Z.
Like the fact that you only had girls. And I had like girlfriends in my neighborhood that I sometimes was allowed to sleep over with, but at a certain age that had to stop. I was like,
Yeah.
I'm gay. Like, just let me sleep over. And now I think that that's fine. I'm sure they're having like all sorts of gender neutral slumber parties.
You also like, I don't know. I feel like like I want to be a New York parent. If I have a gay son, I'm gonna know he's gay before he knows he's gay.
Right.
And like I'm gonna be like, yeah, do sleepover with a girl, maybe kiss her and realize like I'm like you'll know sooner.
Yeah. Yeah. You'll be on this journey
Figure
faster.
it out ASAP. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. That's so, but the crying, the cattiness, that's so interesting. And like hearing my girlfriends talk about these stories, I'm like, oh, wow. Yeah. We had such different experiences of slumber parties.
But then also, like, I was one of those girls. Do other girls on your podcast talk about this? That like, I like with girlfriends, I would like experiment kissing. Like, we would do kissing experiments.
Please go off.
Like, we were like, not understanding our hormones. Like, it
Right.
was, yeah, I would like kiss on my girlfriends all the time.
It's kind of a cool, like very special thing that people experience. That's like, it's like your safe space with your friends at your slumber party where you're like figuring yourself out in more ways than one. That's
That
why I
was the
like
thing.
doing this pod.
Always felt safe. Yeah.
Yeah. It's interesting. It's like, and so many gay people come on the pod and talk about like, I've had gay women come on and talk about that, about like, yeah, this was like such an awakening for me. Like, cause
Oh,
sometimes that happens and then they're gay. But
yeah.
yeah, I've never heard a straight person talk about that before, because we've also had gay guys come on and be like, I used to, like watch porn with my straight buddy and we would both, masturbate. But he is straight. Like he's married to a woman now, and I never felt like that guy's gay. I think he was just like, you're getting to know your body. You're like figuring it out.
And it was a safe space. Like I made out with girls all through college. I mean, I think like figuring out who you are and how you sexually relate to people. Yeah. I mean, not that that's what all slumber parties were, but like that was something that was definitely, yeah, I remember that. Yeah. But like and then I also remember one in particular where they like had a cat and I had to call my mom. And my mom had this like unbelievable ESP. She like would not fall asleep if she knew I was not doing okay. Like she had to come and pick
Whoa.
me up because I was having such an asthma attack and drove me home with like the windows down
Whoa.
because this person had a cat.
And you're allergic.
Yeah. deathly allergic.
Whoa, that's fascinating. She just knew. She felt in her
She just
bones.
knew. And I'm like, that's kind of unbelievable.
It is.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
Like before I got my period, she bought me all these supplies because she was like, it's about to happen. And then it like did. She
Whoa,
knew. She
that
was so
ESP.
in tune. Yeah.
She called you 3 days before the other two casting happened, and she's like, Helena, something big is coming your way.
No, my mom now watches what I do and she's like, oh God. It's like too many swears for her. You know what I mean?
Oh my god, that's
Or
so
like I get
cute.
naked too often. It's a lot for her to deal with, I think.
That, that's so funny. That's so cute.
But like
Wait,
summer party movies, when you ask that as well, it's very like you get kind of dated by answering that. Because
you
for
really
me, it was
do.
like, first of all, I saw Aladdin in the theaters,
Me too.
and that was huge, absolutely huge. Same with Lion King. And
Hmm.
then movies we loved were like Blank Check.
I No one has ever brought up Blank Check on this podcast before.
Blank Check,
Oh,
baby. And he was so hot. Like I had
yes,
such
such
a
a
crush
crush.
on
Oh,
him.
such a crush.
And then like Devon Sawa in Casper.
Oh, come on.
Come on.
The middle part. Now Gen Z loves the middle part. Honey, we had it first with Devon Sawa. Don't you forget it.
Oh,
That
don't
like
you?
coiffed hair.
Oh my God.
Forget.
And Parent Trap, obviously the Lindsay Lohan version.
Duh.
Loved. Like I just remember like anybody if you like asked what's your favorite movie, everybody at that time was going Blank Check.
Ever, because it's like the perfect kid movie. Like the idea that
You
you
could
get
just give
to
yourself a million, or wasn't
anything.
even that much money. Like
I
he
have
gave
no
himself,
idea.
yeah, it was probably like $1,000 and he had like a private jet.
I can put any amount on here. I'll do the most I can think. a
I remember
thousand
that.
dollars.
I think the year Blank Check came out for my note to Santa Claus, I was like, all I want is a $100 bill. I asked for a $100 bill. And my mom was like, what? Like, thought it was so boring, but I was like, this was what I wanted, was like a $100 bill. And I was like, I can't wait to go to the mall with this puppy.
Oh
And I
my
went to the
god.
mall, and the awakening of even then, how little you can get with $100 was so crushing. I
Mm.
mean, I thought I was going to be the kid from Blank Check. I was like,
Yeah.
we're going to fly to Paris. I'm going to have tea time at the Ritz.
Give me
Like,
a slide from my bedroom into the pool. Give me a full chess set in my front yard at
yeah,
the size of a human person.
yeah, exactly.
And instead you got like 3 necklaces from Claire's.
Yeah, I went to Claire's. I got like 2 necklaces from Claire's and like one top from Limited Too or something.
And then it's gone, baby. You went to Sam Goody to get a Celine Dion CD, and they said you don't have enough money.
It's so weird to me. Like the other day, Stripped came on. Like somebody played a song from Stripped, the Christina Aguilera
Oh
CD.
yeah. Oh
CD.
yeah. CD.
And I remember going into CD shops and her and that like those low cut bell bottoms. And it was like a cutout of her in the shop. And when they started releasing music digitally, I was like, but what about CD stores? Like, how will you know what to get? Like, I still am at such a loss music wise because I can't go to a CD store. Like,
The same.
or like, how do you give somebody music? Like, that was always such a great gift.
Oh, you're right. I forgot about that. Burning someone a CD with their favorite music on it.
Not, yeah, that or being like, I really love this Nelly Furtado album and I think you should have it. And like getting them the new Nelly Furtado as a
Ah,
birthday present.
yes. The novelty of CD stores and Blockbuster, of being able to be physically
Oh,
in the store and picking things up with your hands and looking at whether
are
or not you
you
want
old
it.
enough to remember the Blockbuster on like 50th and 8th?
Yes, yes, yes.
There was a Blockbuster on 50th and 8th, and it was like where you went to go rent your movies. Like, and it's like the last, oh my God, it's so devastating. I don't like scrolling through. Like, Netflix, I'm like, what is any of this? Like, I wanted to know what the new releases were. Like, what are the, like, I wanted to see like the movie that just been in the theaters and like see the new release, like on the shelf with
Yes.
Blockbuster. I don't know if you
Yes.
remember this. There was a commercial for Blockbuster that when Titanic came out on video, it was obviously double VHS. You
Oh,
had
of
to,
course.
it was
Of
too
course.
long for one VHS tape. And they aired this commercial. Blockbuster had this commercial where it was like these girls banging down the wall of the Blockbuster, being like, "Let me in!" Like the minute Blockbuster opened for the, so you could get the Titanic DVD. Because I saw Titanic in the theaters like 4 times.
Uh-huh.
And so on the day the Titanic came out at Blockbuster, I told my mom, I was like, do I need to get a chair and like set a chair up outside? Like they've released this commercial. I feel like it's going to be absolute mayhem at the Blockbuster down the block. And she was like, just show up when it opens. And so it was like 2 blocks from our house in LA. And I like walked down the street and I was like, ooh, I was really nervous there was going to be a line. They opened the door up. Nobody was in there. I got my Titanic VHS. I was like, how long am I allowed to keep this? They were like, I think with the brand new releases, you were allowed to have them for
Like,
24 or 48 hours, maybe.
yeah.
Anyway, there was no frenzy. It's just me
But you had
alone
built
at
up this whole
Blockbuster.
story in your head. Yeah. You're like, I'm gonna get in there. I have not thought about that commercial in a very long time, and I absolutely remember that.
Thank you. I tell
I
this story
remember
a lot,
that.
and I'm like, it was very informative for me. Like, I was obsessed with that movie.
I remember that so vividly, but very different experiences. You could not get Titanic in my town. Like, I grew up in Ohio, and it was like, I remember seeing when you saw the double movie, the movies just jutted out from the shelf more than
Yep.
usual, and it took up 2 full, like,
Yeah.
shelves. That's how many
Blockbuster.
copies they had at Blockbuster. And you could, there was like there were like several hot movies, like maybe like 5 to 10 movies that like when you went to Blockbuster, you'd ask every time and they'd always be out. And you'd be like, could you check the return box and see
Yes, the
see if
return
it's in
box.
there?
That's
Yeah.
why I went the minute Blockbuster opened because I was like, I'm not dealing with this fuckery. I'm
I gotta
getting
have
Titanic.
Titanic. And remember
Gotta have Titanic.
the little black sign behind them on the counter that said the movies that are coming soon?
Oh my God. Well, that was such a tease because I would go for them and they weren't there.
They're not there.
But now it's like I went to Disney Plus because I was like, oh, apparently I can watch the new Mulan. I definitely want to watch Mulan. And I was like, $22?
Hell no.
No.
Hell no. Also, it's fun to plan for a movie. Like, it's so annoying to sit there and like you're like, do I want to watch that? I don't know. Do I want to watch that? Like when you're sitting on the couch, you're ready to relax. It's time
Oh
to
my
pop
God.
the movie
Try
on,
getting married
baby.
to a straight man. You can't even
Oh,
agree on anything. It's a nightmare.
what do y'all watch? What do you guys watch together?
We've watched a few things together. We watched Hacks together.
What?
We
Oh,
watched,
Hacks. Oh yeah,
loved Hacks. Oh my
so
God.
good, so good. Gene Smart.
We watched Money Heist together.
What is that?
Money Heist is like a Spanish show. It's on Netflix. It's really good. It's in
Okay.
Spanish. And it's like these like hot Spanish people rob a bank. And it takes place, the whole first season takes place in literally one day, but so comically in one day, you're like, it's absolutely should be dark by now. Like it's so insane that it's one day because they keep flashing back to like the planning of the heist. Like, it's very good. But we watched Mayor of Easttown together.
Oh,
We watched
loved,
the
loved.
other two together.
Okay, great.
But like for example, I watched the first episode of White Lotus recently and I was like, I need you to get on top of this because it's absolutely something we can watch together. But his bitch ass, he's rewatching. This is what straights do. He's rewatching Billions.
I knew you
And
were
so
gonna say that. I knew you were gonna say that.
Billions, the straightest of straight shows.
I as soon as you
Just
said this was
two
straights too, I was like,
straight
she's gonna say
white
billions.
leads being straight, being like mean, throwing their straight weight around.
It just
And
looks so 2003 to me. Like it's just like
I watch
that's
over his shoulder. It's good. It's also like those actors are good. So like, what are you gonna do? He loves it, but he's like rewatching that. We watched Succession together. I'm very excited about Succession being out.
I hear Succession is great. I've not delved into it yet, but
Oh
everyone
my
says
gosh,
it's so good.
I'm jealous of you for not delving. It's so good.
Okay, I'm
It's
gonna get on
so
that.
so good. We watch so few things together. Like we have to give each other allotted TV time. but he won't. I need him to watch the first episode of White Lotus so we can keep going, because I want to get to Molly's stuff, because I've seen all of the clips, and
I was just gonna say.
I was so excited. I was like, oh my God, she plays the shitty mom. This is not even what I could have expected. It was like beyond my wildest dreams, and I have to get to it.
She's so amazing in White Lotus. And it's so, I said to my boyfriend when we were watching it, I was like, it's so fun getting to watch Molly Shannon be high status, because she so
Oh,
often gets cast as these great, like in the other two, it's like sort of like middle
Midwestern mom.
class,
Yeah.
Midwestern mom. And in this, she gets, and I feel like she gets cast as that a lot because she is so friendly and so joyous. And in this, she just gets to be like the
Shitty.
worst. Oh my God. And
Oh my
she's
God, I can't.
so good.
What am I going to do? He's coming home tonight, and I'm going to be with him the whole time. So I'm going to have, like, maybe I'll just read a book while he watches. I need him to watch the first episode.
I
I'm
know.
like, because I get so jealous of all of my friends in like my friends are lesbians. They watch everything together. All of my
Mm.
like gay couple friends, they watch everything together. And I'm like, I can't with this straight TV taste. I
That
can't.
has to be hard. I've never even really thought about
The
that.
worst thing about being a straight woman is that you're attracted to straight men. It is a pain in the ass. It's the worst. Like, honestly, of all of the things, like, there's so many cross to bears as being a woman. Like, we get catcalled, harassed, like lower pay. We get our periods. We have to carry the babies. We have to go through the entire process of changing our names. But the absolute worst is that we are forever destined to be with straight men. Unless you're lucky and you married a gay guy and you're happy with it. Unless you're like a member of like some bad church. Do you know what I mean? One of these like
Oh
bad
yeah.
churches. Yeah.
There's a lot of bad churches out there.
Oh my God. I had
Um
to fully tell me that gay men were going to hell, and I was like flabbergasted. And I was like, what is this church? And I looked it up, and it's literally like,
it's like, what? Sorry, you cut out for a second. You're here. You're back. Oh wait, no. I lost you.
I opened my AirPods.
Oh, I hate that. The AirPods drive me nuts. I do have to let you go because we're at time. But where
Oh, can you hear me now?
oh yeah, I can hear you now.
Okay.
I have to let you go, but this is so fun. Could talk to you for the longest time. Thank you so much for doing this.
I hope any of this was interesting. I'm sorry I talked about Titanic for like 45 minutes.
I think that's all the listeners ever want to hear is Titanic. I think that's exactly the demographic for this podcast.
It was like how I felt my vagina for the first time. You know what I mean?
I sure do. When I saw Titanic in theaters, I was with my parents, and these two, I was probably 9 or 10, and these two girls were like a little older than me, maybe they were 13, were sitting in front of us, and my mom and I were talking during the previews like about how excited we were, and the girls turned around at the same time, like in choreographed unison. They both went shh, and my mom and I looked at each other, and then my mom rolled her eyes at them, and that was the first moment I had as a child of being like, oh, my mom's not just a mom, she's like a person. She's petty.
Oh!
Yeah.
Petty.
She's petty.
By the
and I
way,
love
that
it.
was me. Like, as a 13-year-old girl, I was 13. We were like famously obsessed with Titanic. Like, if
So
you were
obsessed.
13, I was 13 when Titanic came out.
Oh, that's like really the sweet spot.
Yeah, that was me. I mean, I know it was Ohio, but like maybe I was there that weekend. I don't know. That
And we
was
were
me.
actually on vacation in Colorado. Maybe it was you. Maybe
I
you're
love
taking
that
me.
about your mom. I love that was I love your mom for that.
I
That's
know.
amazing.
She's such a pat, honestly. It's like it's so fun. Where can the people follow you?
At Helené Yorke, spelled in its weird ass way.
Love it. Love it. Thank you so much for doing this, Helené. I cannot wait to watch all of the other two. It's going to be so fun.
You're
Everybody
so
listening.
funny on it. I was
Oh
so
my God.
delighted to see you because I got to see it a couple nights ago before talking to you, and very funny.
I am
Very funny.
so excited. I was
Aw.
there. I mean, those Chris and Sarah are just the funniest writers, and the show's so great. And
Yeah.
Wanda Sykes. I mean, we didn't even get into that. Wanda has been my actual rock during the pandemic. I just turn her on late at night. I've rewatched her specials over and over and over again.
She's one of those people that anything she says is funny. She is also the nicest person alive. Like,
that thrills me.
She's the nicest fucking person alive. She's so great.
That scene in season 1 where they're talking about like PR mess, and you're at, I think, Justin Theroux's house, and she's like,
Yeah.
and she pulls up a big binder, and you're like, "Can I go?" or whatever you say. You're like, "I don't
Yeah.
know," and she's like, "Actually, Brooke, these are all you." The huge binder. kills me. Thank you again so much, Helené, and congrats on your upcoming wedding. Hello.
Thank you.
Yay. All right. Thanks, listeners.